Hey, how you guys doing? Thank you for joining us today. Today we are closing out our 8-week Summer of Success Wellness series with what I think might just very well be one of the most inspirational talks of this week or of this year's summer series. So today we've got the pleasure of having Dan Williams. He's a U.S. track and field masters athlete. He is the man behind the 21 Fitness Principles. The American Heart Association has shared his story. He is Mr. 71 with the spirit of a 17-year-old. Dan, how are you doing today?
Doing awesome, Miles. Great to reconnect with you and your team.
It's a pleasure to be here with you, Dan. I thank you for taking some time out of your Friday to be here with us and close out our Summer of Success Wellness series. I think that your story has inspired so many already, and it's definitely very inspirational to me. And I wanted to have the opportunity to have our tribe listen to your story of success and triumph from you.
So, I love the title of your the program, Summer of Success Wellness, right? Fitness. So you defined already that at the beginning of it that we're going to be successful, and that in itself is very it just shows your spirit and the spirit that you've shared with the folks that you coach and the people that go through your program. So it's a success even before it started, right? And I think that's the mindset. Muhammad Ali, my favorite athlete all time, he said, I was a champion before I was, right? That's the mindset I think you have to think, and hats off to you and all those that participated. And I'm just honored to be here at the tail end of it to kind of recap what you've been doing and hopefully add some flavor to, the coaching and motivation that you've provided.
Thank you, Dan. Well, I definitely appreciate that. And I know that with your inspirational story, you're definitely going to be able to motivate and inspire those that have been here with us through this 8 weeks, who have made the decision to decide to start their wellness journey or decide to continue their wellness journey with us throughout the summer. And now we're at the end of this. And, your first principle is deciding. And I think that everybody who's joined up for our Summer of Success Wellness series has made that decision to make wellness part of their lifestyle. And I think after listening to you today, they're going to have the inspiration to start intrinsically motivating themselves to keep going.
Yeah, I love it. Decide is an appropriate first step of 21 Fitness Principles. And I add a caveat to making that decision. And I guess it's the Irish, background of wanting to tell stories or, put it together in kind of a flavorful way. But I talk about decide, and that decision has two parts. The folks that joined your program needed to make that decision. But the second part is they needed to act. And I use the story of the two frogs on the log, right? Two logs on a frog. One decides to jump. How many are left? And the answer is 2. Because deciding is not all that it takes. You have to take action. So, especially for those at the back end of this and this recap and the end of your Summer Success Wellness program, they took action along with their initial decision. So congratulations.
Yes, Dan. And I like that. That's almost like a trick question. You have 2 frogs on a log. One decides to jump, but without taking action to jump, there's still two frogs left on that log.
Yeah, how true it is in our lives too, right? Making a decision is important, but without action, it's really it's for naught.
And you have an interesting story of how you came to make the decision to start your wellness journey and the action that you took. And so, and getting into that, your wellness journey started after you died on the table during open heart surgery. And that experience led you to become the man and the legend that you are today, the U.S. track and field masters athlete, the gold medalist, the author of the 21 Fitness Principles. And, so much more has come from that. And so the American Heart Association has shared your comeback story. We said that at the beginning, but what can you tell us about your life before you died on the table? And how is it different from the one you're currently living, taking advantage of those extra innings that you talk about in your 21 Fitness Principles?
Yeah, so take me back in time. So I've actually now turned 72. So I'm 72 with the spirit of a 7. My spirit has not changed, right? I'm still 17 spirit, but I just past my 72nd birthday. And, Miles, it's in terms of looking back in the rearview mirror, I mean, I've got a number of decades to reflect on in terms of my life and my journey. And I did get attracted to, fitness through track and cross country through school. And then, I'm sure others have experienced this, not terminally unique in this category, but life started to happen, right? So although I was fit, I had run through marathons, even in my early 30s, and was proud of those accomplishments and kept, my fitness endeavors going. But the body's very forgiving when you're younger, right? So, I mean, I ran those marathons, but I really wasn't intentional and conscious about the overall wellness aspect of it. I was just doing it because, it was a continuation of my fitness program. But then life happened, right? Marriage, children, job, stress, and it just took over. And I lost over time. Now I'm in my 40s, late 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. And I literally, Miles, was on the recipe for a disaster, which, happened. Fortunately, I'm here in Extra Innings to share about the experience. But my lifestyle just became sedentary. I didn't pay attention to my diet. I didn't pay attention to my fitness. What I had accomplished in the past was not relevant, to my physical fitness. And stress, I mean, was a major contributor to it. And so I ended up with, the trigger event obviously was, a heart attack that ended up into a 9-hour open heart surgery that I was in a coma for 4 days because I had pneumonia going in. I was on blood thinners the week before. They couldn't stop the bleeding, and it was a hot mess. And I was really blessed with prayers and support from family and friends and a courageous heart surgeon that did not, one of my daughters asked, she basically, when he was doing the post consultation, said, is my dad going to make it? And he said, yes, he's fighting, right? He is fighting. And so my spirit was there. And again, through the grace of God, I survived that. And the last piece of that story that I think is important, you would have thought that would have been my bottom. Right now, of course, for the next 6 months, 12 months, I was still recovering. I got back to work as soon as I could. And I was still, right from that experience. But believe it or not, I started to fall back in the old patterns. I just absolutely, you would have thought that was a bottom. And then my bottom happened. And I think this is a message for everyone too, bottoms are wherever they might be. You would have thought that story that you described and that I just went through a little bit would have been the bottom, right? That would have been enough for me to wake up, Danny, it's time to get back into a fitness program. But I slid back. My bottom came at dinner one night. I was bloated. I knew that I was not going to get a second chance. And a voice literally came to me. And that voice said, what are you doing? And I mean, it was that clear as I'm sharing this story with you right now. You are in Extra Innings. You have been blessed with a gift and graced, and you're not going to get a second chance. And that was the point in 2016, keeping in mind my surgery and the open heart surgery was 2000 into 2012. So 2016 is when I began my journey. And that was my start to a new lifetime of fitness that we're talking about today.
Okay. And, you hit on a lot of things there that I think affect a lot of people, and a lot of people even that joined our Summer of Success Wellness series. And that's life happens. Life happens for all of us. We have children, we get married, we have jobs, stress. The body doesn't discern between different types of stress, and all of that affects our body differently and changes the course of our lives. And so being able to manage that, and now in hindsight, looking at it 2020, right, being able to look back and saying, I know those were the factors that led me to, you know, adverse outcomes. It's almost like you're able to gift that to people and say, hey, look, you know, life is going to happen, but you have to make sure that you prioritize putting yourself first. Because if you don't, and if you just allow life to happen, and you have the kids, you have the family, you're married, your job, the stress, that will take you out of life. And now
Right.
you won't be here to enjoy it. And so I'm grateful that you had your second chance, and that you got your second inning, so that you're able to share these stories and these gems with us today. So, you know, like I said, I think everyone who took part of this year's Summer Success Wellness Series, especially those who took the leap to start their journey today, took your first step in your 21 Fitness Principles, which was to decide to lead a healthier lifestyle and more wellness-driven lifestyle. But now that the program is over, what are the next steps you think they need to take as it relates to your 21 Fitness Principles, for them to continue their success and maintain the results that they've gotten over these last 8 weeks?
I feel like that was a softball. Oh my goodness, because it really goes, Miles, to the heart of fitness and why mine was a little dramatic, but just on a day-to-day basis, coming in just a seasonal basis, right? Coming out of your program this summer, right? What needs to be done or thought through in terms of continuing on to that in that spirit of fitness. And I often talk about our comfort zone and how we naturally fall back into our comfort zone, and how do you break out of that comfort zone. And so it's important to take a break. Recovery is one of the 21 Fitness Principles, mentally, spiritually, certainly physically, just to kind of recoup and to savor what's been accomplished. But there will be a time where we'll slip back into that comfort zone, and it'll be harder to get back out of it. So in terms of being able to continue, I think it's important to be mindful that you do need some rest and recovery. You do need a break, but that if you don't put first and foremost fitness, it will start to fade and dissipate from your life. So how do you do that? And we talk about in the 21 Fitness Principles, accountability. One, it's not easy, right? So it's going to be natural, no matter how fit you may be, to fall back into those patterns, right? And so 21 Fitness Principles kind of builds on that question. Accountability, having an accountability coach. On our own, our minds, the only thing that improved when I was in my non-physical, non-fitness state during those decades was my ability to rationalize. That's the only thing that improved. Rationalize why it wasn't a good idea to get back out and work or get fit because I didn't have enough time. So accountability coach will call you on that. Having a routine, being consistent, keeping in mind the bigger picture. Why are we doing this? Why are we keeping fit? What is your why? And my particular why is I want to live in a quality life that I can be engaged and active in the lives of my beautiful daughters, and be there and be present and be able to leave a legacy that it's never too late to change. And that why keeps me motivated through the ups and downs. So those are just some thoughts in terms of the folks coming out of your success program and how they might want to continue and kind of keep a heads up on avoiding that comfort zone.
And Dan, I love that you hit on that why. That is something that we spent a lot of time doing during week 1, is journaling and writing down that why, because I'm a big fan of finding that deeper why, because that surface level why, that superficial why isn't enough to sustain us through our entire fitness journey. At the beginning, some goals were, I want to lose 50 pounds. I want to fit into this bikini by the end of the summer. Those goals have now changed and evolved to say, hey, it wasn't about losing the 50 pounds for summer. It's about losing the 50 pounds, keeping it off, but it's about improving my quality of life. It's about boosting my confidence. It's about improving my health. It's about increasing the amounts of self-love that I show myself. And those deeper whys are enough, I believe, to keep us motivated internally, intrinsically, and keep us pushing to reach those new peaks along our wellness journey. So I love how you hit on that. Another question. A few of my personal favorites from your 21 Fitness principles, which I personally think are important to highlight, are journey and motivation. And so over the course of your wellness journey, how have your goals changed? How have you felt this journey has changed who you are, and where is it taking you so far?
Yeah, and that dovetails, Miles, just to our previous conversation about the why. My journey started with an awakening in 2016. And, my goals at that point in time were more oriented around goals, like, what could I run the 200 meters in my age group, and, winning that medal for my first medal at the Maryland Senior Olympics in 100 meters. And that has changed over the last 5 years to get back into my bigger why. Because what I have found out is that those goals are important stepping stones, and they're important to keep me focused going forward. But I've learned that it's more important, not the medals, which will sit up on a shelf or are sitting up on shelves collecting dust, but it's just the day-to-day feeling of energy and fitness and, that spirit of 17. That's helped me on my journey and what's changed in terms of my initial goals. And then the other thing that I think is I've kind of come to realize with fitness is it's so much more than what you would expect. I mean, we have, whether it be the weight loss or whether it be just what, fill in the blank what your goal is. But what happens in the last principle is the word journey. It's the people that you meet. It's the experiences that you have. It's being able to enjoy life in a way that you never thought possible. And those are things that I have not, I didn't really set as, hey, this is what I'm going to get, but that's what's evolved through my journey so far. So I'd say that fitness in itself is really holistic, in terms of just your overall life and how you live your life. And so changed my perspective in these 5 short years.
Definitely. And I love that part of my job as a trainer, as a coach, and one of the things that I hope is the lasting impact and legacy of my company is that we help people reimagine what fitness is and help them realize it's not just this physical state. It's something more than that. And you can't have fitness without having wellness. And in fact, if you're not mentally well, physically well, emotionally well, spiritually well, it's all one system. And so you're going to be lacking in that overall sense of wellness. And I like how you just brought that to a point there by just highlighting the fact that fitness is more than just being able to go out and run. Fitness is being able to enjoy your quality of life, being able to, enjoy time with your daughters. You're a girl dad. I'm a girl dad. I know that it is so important spending time with our daughters. And so to be able to do that now at 72, and to have these extra innings to spend time with them is so important and so gracious. And that's truly a blessing. And so I think that everybody that's watching this has been inspired so far. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they'll be motivated to keep going and to continue making changes on their own. So where do you think that true motivation for them is going to come from? And how do they keep it going? And how did you find yours? I know we talked a little bit about your why, but how do you suggest others go about finding their why so that they can keep their motivation going, so that they can keep reaching and attaining their fitness goals?
Yeah, so my pivot point in terms of after the first couple of years, competing, on my own, trying to figure out what I was going to do, getting injured, my pivot point was coming across a track team. And it's a local track team for masters. It's called ITS, Individual Training Specialist. Our coach, Coach Harris, I was just, this was one of those, when you start your journey, you don't know where you're going to go and what you may come across. And it goes to my previous point. I never envisioned that I would be on a team with a coach. This coach is somebody who has trained Olympians. He's currently the high school coach for local high school here. And he has just changed my world in terms of technique, being able to stay within myself, and just at, at a master's age, but technique really permeates all athletes that he trains. So coming across that coach, coming across teammates, the camaraderie. So how do you keep it going, right? Well, we go back to accountability, right? So I have teammates, and we inspire each other, we support each other, we, are there for each other, not just on the track, but off the track. And so I would encourage everyone in terms of any kind of a fitness program to get part of a local tribe, as you mentioned. Get a accountability coach, somebody that can see you and know you better than you would know yourself. And that would be, would certainly help me, and that I would share that to others, versus doing it alone.
There we go. You can always go further with others than you can go by yourself. That is so much true with life. That is true with our wellness journeys as well. And it's obvious that at this point in your life, you've made a lifestyle out of health and wellness. And that takes a great deal of consistency to do, which is your fourth principle. How would you suggest that people find a way to stay consistent? And what are the benefits of taking your journey slow instead of rushing to the finish line?
Wow. Consistency. Well, first there's, and not everyone, but, I write in my principle of consistency, the 21-90 rule. It takes 21 days to develop a habit. It takes 90 days to develop a lifestyle. Now, give or take those numbers, but basically you're looking at not just habit changing, you're looking at lifestyle changing. So maybe it's not 90 days, maybe it's 9 months. But you want to be able to keep consistent, to understand that it takes time, it takes effort, it takes intention, which is another principle. So I would say that in terms of just keeping it going and being able to stay consistent, understand that, and these are things that I learned in retrospect, right? That, and I'll pivot back to the comfort zone, right? Which keeps us from being consistent, tells us we shouldn't, couldn't, may not be in our best interest to get off that couch that particular day. So I often think of it, it's a triangle with the first point of the base of the triangle being a Q, right? So the Q is, should I work out or shouldn't I work out? And when those questions and that conversation starts to happen with the committee, what I've learned to do is not go to the habit or to the workout. I've learned to go to the reward, right? Could be a very short-term reward. So go to that reward, and that reward does need to be your why. Like, why am I doing this again? And go to that reward and feel that satisfaction and think through that satisfaction of being able to be in the lives of your family, to be able to be a healthy, active, energetic, and useful person versus, sliding down into, what life does bring us. I mean, we're working against the odds. So I go to that reward. And then once I think about that, then, the habit starts to form, right? And it does take time. It's harder at the beginning than it is at the end. But I've learned that baby steps, I mean, literally, my story is, I started, my first goal was getting to the end of the ICU unit, in the cardiac ICU unit after I came out of the coma, and getting to, it was Christmas time, to the end of that hallway where there was an artificial Christmas tree. That was my first goal, right? So that was literally baby steps, right? With oxygen tank behind me. But when I got out and I started to, head into my fitness lifestyle, I mean, I literally walked for 15 minutes, which led to 20, which led to 30. And I started to jog for 20, which led to 30. So baby steps, keep in mind your why, and also that you are fighting the forces of your comfort zone. And you need a team and you need a coach and accountability to help you get through that journey.
Yeah, definitely. And you said something there, which was take it slow. Take those small bites. One of my favorite quotes is from Desmond Tutu, which is, "How do you eat an elephant?" And it's one bite at a time, because you're not going to make it to that big, long goal without taking it slow at the beginning. And so I love that you hit on that. I love that you said that. And a thing that you also talked about was habits. I think that so often when we're first starting our wellness journey, we try to add a quantity to the habit, right? And what I mean by that is we try to say, I'm going to walk for 20 minutes. Well, that's a quantity. What the actual habit is just walking, whether you do it for 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. And I think so many times we get stuck on that. I'm going to walk for 60 minutes instead of focusing on I'm going to go for a walk. The 60 minutes is going to come at some point. But if you don't start by simply going for the walk, you're not going to make it to that 60 minutes. So let's start focusing on the habit and not focus as much on the quantity, because the quantity is going to come. It's going to increase over time. And if you just remember, keep it in the back of your head to keep it slow, one bite at a time, you'll end up eating that whole elephant eventually. So moving forward, you talked about routine a little bit, and that's a big part of staying consistent, which is your fifth principle, routine. So what is your routine like, and what tips do you have to anybody watching that's still working to create their wellness-driven routine?
First, develop a routine. I backed into one through my coach and teammates. I really didn't have one. And so it seems like whatever, right? It doesn't seem as powerful as a word, right? Routine is kind of like, well, what's your routine? I mean, it sounds pretty boring, but it became really one catalyst for me being able to be consistent, right? And that is, my particular routine within our team, Coach Harris has us under, is we get to the track. We have practice Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We get to the track about 6 o'clock, and we just warm up and stretch a little bit on our own. We'll take a lap. We'll do some skips around the track. We'll do some stretches, and just talk with the fellow teammates, and just you're getting warmed up, right? And then the next routine is we go through a series of drills. And these are drills that really turn on the nervous system. And the coaches had said, if you just do the drills and you don't do the workout after the drills, you've done a workout, because they are, and I've actually got, I do have a video out there on, I think it's TikTok or Instagram, about the drills. But if anybody's interested, I can actually, send them that video clip of the drills. But we go through a series of drills for strengthening the hips, for hip flexors, which I know you all know all about, which I never heard of hip flexors, up until Coach Harris. And all of a sudden, it's like hip flexors are the most important muscle in the body in terms of, being able to allow us to move those legs, especially, in track. So we do skips, we do drills with, there's about 7 or 8 of them. It takes about 30 minutes. And then once those drills are finished, then Coach Harris will, and again, the name of our team is ITS, Individual Training Specialist. We're very much a team. We're very much bonded, lots of camaraderie. But Coach's philosophy is that he coaches us individually. So he'll then, based on my event, what's coming up, how I'm feeling, he'll ask us, and I'll say to him, whatever, he'll go, get through the drills and let's talk afterwards. If I have an injury, he'll tell me, shut it down, right? So based on my feedback to my coach, we then go through a an individual, he may have me do 3 150s with a 2-minute break in between, and then we do a set of warm downs. That routine, everybody's routine is going to be different. I only share that one because that's an example that we do in our track team. But whatever your routine may be, here is the most important part. Routine takes the thinking out of getting fit. I don't have to think about it. We just go. And when I go on my own through COVID, when we were shut down, I went out to the track by myself, but I just went through that same routine. And it just really helped mentally not to have to think about it, right? And then, I really don't want to do this. And then I would do my drills, and then I'm going, oh, I feel a little bit better. And at the very end, it really kind of reinforced that everybody's got to have a routine, because our mind and our committee will try to talk us out of it, or we might end up doing something that could be harmful to our health. And it's a good way to prevent injuries.
I love that. And, routine is something that I coach a lot about too, because I believe that routines make it easier for us, like you said, to make fitness fit into real life. And one of the things that I think is important when it comes to the routines is having a good and solid morning routine, which I think a lot of people start to lean towards as they go through their wellness journey, setting out clothes to make it easier to work out in the morning, setting out your lunch, preparing your meals, meal prepping, things like that. But what's just as important is having that cool down routine in the evening, kind of like your cool down routine after your workouts, where you're still able to set yourself up for the next day. I think a lot of times we go to sleep, and what happens is we go switch. Our goal when we went to sleep was to wake up in the morning and go work out. But as we were asleep, somewhere in that 8 hours, our goals switched from working out in the morning to staying in bed and sleeping in a little bit longer. And I think that having a solid evening routine where we start to prepare ourselves for the day before, and having a strong morning routine where when our alarm clock goes off in the morning, we wake up and we're immediately able to start preparing for the day and attacking the day rather than having to be ready for the day, is so important. And I'll even share my morning routine, which is I lay in bed, take about 15, 20 seconds just to find my breath, make sure I'm awake. I'll hit my Apple Watch. I'll go through a minute or two breathe session just to check what my resting heart rate is, my waking heart rate is, to see how ready I am for the day, see how my sleep quality was. After that, roll out of bed. As soon as my feet hit the ground, I'm doing some stretches. I'm doing some good morning, some squats, some inchworms, just to warm up the central nervous system. And then I go from there, whatever else I have to do that day, and whatever other habits that I've stacked on. So, I'll look through my calendar, I'll look over my week and see what I need to do. And I'll pick 3 big things that I need to attack that day that I have to get done in order to be productive. If I get anything else done, that's an added bonus, but I pick out those big 3 for the day. I go forward. And I think that, having those solid morning routines, evening routines, and being able to stack habits, which is a conversation we had earlier in the wellness series, is so important to being consistent and to really, owning your wellness journey and to having that long-term success. So, that was a lesson that I had to learn along my wellness journey was, being prepared for the day, having routines, which is your 10th principle, lessons. So what are some of the lessons that you've learned throughout your life that you've applied to the 21 Fitness Principles? And what lessons do you continue to learn as you go along your wellness journey today?
A lot of them we've talked about. And, I think one of the lessons that jumps out that we just spoke about was the baby steps, right? And just, we keep in mind that spirit of 17. My ego wants me to do more than my body is physically able to, right? And I think just to be able to do baby steps and less is more, right? Is really one of the lessons that I've learned. I've also learned, Miles, that again, back to coach and to recovery, another principle. I've learned to avoid injuries, right? I've learned to avoid injuries, and I've learned to do that through technique. So I've come to appreciate that and again, the fitness principles, the beauty and why I put those together was not for track and field athletes. I'm just using track and field as the context to talk about those principles from my personal experience. The principles are universal. They're like gravity. No matter what your fitness passion and purpose may be, like gravity, it will have the same effect. And so I've learned, in my lessons that baby steps, being able to have accountability through a coach and teammates, to take it easy on myself, and to really understand that recovery is, this is a shocker, recovery is more important than the physical exercise itself. Sleep, relaxation, just being able to get back into a mindset, diet. So I learned that, just it's not okay just to take a day or two off in between sessions. It's necessary for you to keep at it.
Absolutely. And we've talked about this a few times, and which is the idea that we need to rest and recover along our journey. And I think that that's so important. I think a lot of times, especially, we start off our journey with these big goals, going back to taking those small steps. How do we eat an elephant one bite at a time? You don't have to work out 60 minutes, 90 minutes, 2 hours a day to reach your goals. Sometimes, you have to ask yourself, do I feel like doing this? No. Is it because I'm being lazy? Yes. Well, then go back, circle back, and go ahead and do it. But if the answer is it because I'm being lazy? No. Do I not feel good? No, I don't. I'm tired. My body needs a rest.
Right.
Listen to your body, because just as important as actually working out and maintaining a healthy, well-balanced diet is to your success, so is making sure that you rest and you recover and that you're able to enjoy the benefits of working so hard, right? You don't have to work out every day and then never enjoy the benefits of being healthy. You want to be able to enjoy that sometimes. Right. So my next question, I know we've talked about this a few times, which is accountability. It's your third principle, and it's something that's essential to long-term success in any journey. But I want to look at it from the side of self-accountability here. Instead of being accountable to your coaches and your teammates, being accountable to yourself and the things that you said you were going to do and the things that you know you need to do in order to create that healthier lifestyle and healthier future to yourself. So for you, where did that internal accountability come from? And how do you suggest others stay internally accountable towards their goals after this 8-week journey is over for them?
Oh, gosh. I think to write down what we've been talking about is really important. There's one thing to talk about it, but there is something that happens when you translate a lot of your thoughts and feelings to paper, right? Mm-hmm. And to journal, right? As best you can. I'm not really, journaling is not one of the fitness principles. I need to learn to journal more. It's not something that comes natural to me, but it could be a journal of sending yourself a text, being able to send yourself an email, being able to, track the progress, is, I think, is probably important in terms of accountability. There's a voice that we have, right? And I've learned to identify that voice. And when I hear it and it tells me I should be going another path that's not in the best interest of my health, I call it for what it is. And I just do it, right? We talk about ACT, which is an acronym for action changes things. So sometimes to be accountable, not quite to the extent that you've described, which, you're kind of a high watermark for routines and accountability and being intentional. You're the poster child for this book, Miles. I can say that with all sincerity. We've met on Clubhouse and I've gotten to know you. It's just not this one-time interview. So, you are the poster child for each one of these 21 principles, right?
Appreciate
And so, yeah, just call yourself on it, put together your routines, be intentional, and keep in mind that our the natural gravity is going to pull us back. And that if we're not accountable, then in taking charge of our health, then consequences will happen. There is no doubt about it. And I just want to share this kind of thought that I came across this just recently. And it was from a podcast. And so I've become more open, right, to learning, right? I mean, just how much I've got to learn in terms of avoiding more of those lessons, right?
it.
There's lessons and blessings. And I heard recently on a podcast, I think his name was Rob Arnold. He does a master's podcast for master's athletes. And he talked about the lifespan and the health span. And that our lifespan is about 78, according to all the tables, right? Give or take. But he said our health span is about 63. So in terms of being accountable, you have to, as he shared in his podcast, it resonated with me, take ownership of your health, because most people may live to 78, but they may only enjoy a healthy lifestyle up until the age of 63. So if you want to be able to extend that, even enjoy it before the age of 63, then if it's to be, it's up to me. That's what accountability is in the bigger picture of why we're doing it.
I love that. If it's to be, it's up to me. And you talked about your 18th principle, which is action changes things. And that's one of my favorite principles as well. That along with principle number 20, which is change. So how do you think people apply those two to their wellness journey? And what is the underlying importance of them making sure they, one, action changes things, and then two, dedicate themselves and commit themselves to making that change so that they can live that life and they can extend that health span from age 63 to age 78 and beyond?
Yeah. So, and again, I call myself on this because this has been my experience in terms of my DNA. My DNA has been, up until recently, through all these life changes, that it's 0 or 100 miles per hour, right? I mean, there's no gray. I typically didn't have any gray in my life. It was either like I'm gonna do it this way and try it to gain this goal, or I'm not going to do it at all, right? And that's just stubbornness, and fill in the blanks. I mean, and so the act part of it is action changes things, is the action that you take takes time, right? Time takes time. You can't rush this. Savor it and take baby steps. And so when I talk about action changes things, as you described in part of your routine, I set out my running shoes the night before. And just that pure act of doing that allows me to start to make the motion. And I'll kind of summarize it with something that I learned through my journey, that in terms of these accountability and all the principles, is I learned that through reading and research, that the mind, if you reduce the challenge, so the mind knows, right? Hey, I'm going to run a marathon. And the mind goes, yeah, you had that epiphany last night, but it ain't happening, right? Too large, too big of a goal. You never get it done. But if you reduce that action to something that's manageable, the mind doesn't look at it as a challenge. It's almost like you're doing a head fake to your mind. It will say, okay, hey, putting out the shoes, no big deal. because it tries to protect itself, right? Your body tries to protect itself, and you can be your own, right here, worst enemy. So ACT allows you to make small goals so that your mind doesn't try to talk you out of it, right? And that is the premise and the psychology behind ACT.
So you talk about something there, and we just talked about it in our previous question too, which is the comfort zone. And I think that so much of what I do as a coach, and you even hinted on it a little bit, talking about journaling and just being mindful and adding that mindfulness aspect to your wellness journey, being able to live and examine life, going down and writing down your goals, making them tangible so you can feel them and see them and then achieve them, but also being analytical and saying, hey, I'm living the examined life. I'm noticing I'm not moving towards my goals. When I look at what I'm doing, when I look at my current habits and my current routines, these are habits and routines that are pushing me forward. These are habits and routines that are drawing me back. And it is easy to fall into those adverse routines because they're comfortable. It's easier in the morning for me if I was to set my alarm on my phone to wake up and check Instagram, Facebook, to start looking at, MailChimp and looking at my business accounts and seeing what I need to do for the day. It's harder for me to get up and to commit that time to myself. Being accountable, if it's meant to be, it's up to me. So if it's meant for me to be healthy and to be happy, it's up to me to take those steps. But I think when we talk about our comfort zone and that level of accountability or of comfortability, a big part of it, especially for me, is when it comes to coaching, I don't just help people become healthier. I look at people as plants. And I tell people all the time, I help people turn into plants. That's what I do. And by turning people into plants, I'm helping them break free of the habits and of the routines that they've built that are keeping them pot bound in that comfort zone. I'm helping them repot into a larger pot that gives them the space to grow. So when we're breaking free of those emotional barriers, those physical barriers, those habits and those routines that are holding us back, I think that is so important. And the hardest part is to, trust that it's going to take time for things to change. And that the hardest part of acting and waiting for that action to change things is just knowing that, hey, I want this result immediately. But if we just slow down, again, if we eat that elephant one bite at a time, if we act on it, if we work on repotting ourselves, the change is going to come and the journey is going to be so much more enjoyable. We'll learn so many lessons along the way. And one of the lessons that I'm pretty sure that you've learned, it's in your 21 Fitness Principles, is having variety in your wellness journey. One of the things that we did this year during our Summer of Success is we brought in other coaches from other businesses. Jill, who owns Informed Body in California, came and put on some Pilates classes for us. Kelvin, who's up there near you in the DMV area, came and he put on some live hit and some cardio kickboxing classes for us. What has variety done for you in your wellness journey, and how is it added to that other principle there, happiness along your journey?
Yeah. Variety, spice of life, right? And necessary. And again, another lesson, in terms of, your question of lessons I've learned. I was kind of maniacal in terms of just track and field and intervals. And so I slowly learned that, and actually, what triggered it was, I'm a veteran, and we had a program, and it's ongoing, and I always give a shout out to it. It's suicide prevention awareness, right? And it was 22 push-ups in 22 days, right? And because there's an average of 22 veterans that we lose to suicide. So it's an ongoing program that, is now on viral. And, during the COVID season, I, being a veteran, I caught on to that and got teammates involved. And I learned through that. And this is part of fitness, right? When you go and do something, you'll learn and you'll get experiences that you never really intended to receive. I learned that it was really necessary for me to work my muscles, my core. I learned that I needed to do more flexibility. I learned that I need to do more stretching, and that it all complements because we all have, as you know, um, I'm laughing a little bit because you are the coach, right? um, but this is, just in terms of my personal experience, that they all work for each other, right? So, well, I'm doing a lot of aerobic, but I wasn't doing much in terms of strengthening. So, just, getting over to, a local gym and being able to, do reps on the workout routines. And then I've added another element of variety to my fitness program. I, I, um, I competed in the Veteran Golden Age Games in July, and I'm getting ready with the second part of the Maryland Senior Olympics coming up early September, and I've taken on swimming and as a competitive event. And my goal is to stay above water. Don't have anything Herculean to do in terms of swimming, but I've really enjoyed it because it complements my running in terms of just less stress on muscles. It's good for the cardio, and it's a secondary fitness program. So, I mean, variety, one, our bodies and minds need variety. It's a spice of life. It's the essence and essential for fitness. So we not only do we cardiovascular wise and muscle group wise and core wise and stretching and avoiding injuries, it also allows the body to be shocked a little bit. The body goes, hey, what's going on here? Because my body's adapted to a certain amount of stress, and I can press that boundary with track and field. But it's adapted, and it will adapt, and that's why you have to keep your goals in line and not, go too far too fast. But you also need to stretch them. So the body is kind of going, okay, I think I got this routine down. But with swimming now, it's said to me, hey, what's going on here? Now I have to adapt to different muscle sets that Dan's doing. And so it's starting to help out not just psychologically and mentally in terms of something fresh. It's also helping me out overall from a fitness standpoint.
There we go, adding that variety, and I love that. And you talk about it being an athlete, being a part of a team, and your team, similar to our tribe, works the same way. We work together to achieve a common goal, which is our health and wellness, while we're also working on our specific and individual goals, which is for you, it might be getting another gold in that 100, getting, another top 25 in the indoor 200 meters. For some of us, going through our summer of success, it might be to lose 20 pounds, it might be to lose 50 pounds, it might be to maintain weight. For some people, the goal was even to maintain and gain weight, gain some lean muscle. What are the suggestions that you have about having a team around you, and how has it been beneficial along your wellness journey? And what suggestions do you have for those watching to help them make the most of their fitness community?
Yeah, so the friendships, and what I didn't say about Coach is kind of like we're under his culture, and we're under his philosophy, and we're under his. What I wanted to say, and I'll get to the question, but I don't want to leave this out. With a coach, the most important part of having a coach is having a coach that cares. I mean, certainly they need credentials, they need certification, they need to know what their specialty is, but they need to care. And so what's happened is with my teammates, I've learned that my teammates have helped me in terms of just friendships and broadening my horizon of who I would meet. And it all comes under, him keeping us knitted together. I've learned, I don't know. Help me out. Take me in a direction. I got off on the coach and friendships, and I lost the train of thought.
No, I love that, because my next question to you was going to be about the benefit of having a coach, and you just teed that up and knocked that out the park perfectly when you talked about having a coach that cares. But having a community that cares is just as important as having a coach around you that cares. And I know watching our classes in the gym before COVID, one of the big things that pushed us to go virtual with our classes in the interim was the fact that so many people were hitting us up and giving me a call saying, hey, I miss my community. I miss my friends. It's not just the fact that I'm at home and not getting fit. Yeah, that's cool. But it's more of the community that I built. It's more of this tribe and this fitness community that I've become a part of, that they hold me accountable to my goals while also helping me to evolve and finding a group that, you know, they mimic you in a sense that, you know, your core values are aligned with theirs. Everybody might have their different beliefs and opinions, but when it comes down to the core of what you guys are trying to do together, you guys are all part of the US Masters track and field team. And so being able to find that community, I think, is important. And I tell everybody that signed up, that is new to our tribe, that signed up during the 8-week Summer of Success, if this tribe wasn't for you, that doesn't mean that there's not one out there for you.
Right.
You have to put in the due diligence to find your tribe. And when it comes to finding your tribe, what tips do you have?
Yeah. So, well, hold that question. But I would like to add to what you just shared in terms of your tribe and our team, what we have, and boy, did this really help, but it's been consistent. We have a group chat, right? And it just happens to be we're under WhatsApp, right? Could be anything, could be a Facebook group, but we've kept connected through that group chat, right? So birthdays, anniversaries, you know, accomplishments, sadness, you know, families members that might have been lost. We stay connected, you know, through that group chat. So that sense of community when we're not at the track, and especially for all of us, you know, that have gone through these horrific times over the last, what now, going on 20 plus months, is important to stay connected, right? To keep that connection going. So I told you to hold the thought on the question. What was the question?
You know, we talk about genuine human connection, and I think that that was probably the answer to the question, which is how do you find your tribe, which is, you know, you create those genuine human connections. So I think that you did answer the question there.
Well, I actually I didn't quite. How do you find the tribe? And you know, those people that have come across, your coaching, word of mouth, but I think that's part of the serendipity with fitness, is that you don't, you don't know what's going to be out there and who you might meet. But unless you start to open up your world to this idea that I'm going to change my life and be accountable for my health, then you don't know what is in your path. I didn't come across this team right away. It was a couple of years. And I had some, different experiences, but this was one that worked for me. So how you find your team is be open, be proactive, and just if you set that intention of your journey, your subconscious mind will bring you and make you aware of things that you previously would have ignored. And that's how you start to find your tribe and your community and your team and how friendships evolve.
I love that, Dan. Dan, I truly appreciate you for spending some time with us and sitting down. And I know if there's one thing that I have gotten from you throughout the course of our relationship together and me knowing you, it is that you are in control of your outcomes in your life. And at any moment, you have the power to make the decision to change your life for the better. Or you have the power to decide to continue living the current life that you're leading. And so if you're not happy living the current life that you're leading, you have the power. It is completely in your hands to change your outcomes. Dan, is there anything that you would like to say to our viewers, anybody that's, going to watch this live, going to watch this later, that is taking part of the Summer of Success, that you feel is important that they need to be left with as we close off our Summer of Success Wellness Series?
Yeah, and you just kind of gave me some thoughts. What I would say is that my story, I got a second chance. I was granted a gift of another chance. And my whole passion in terms of talking about the 21 fitness principles and the philosophies and my experiences is to inspire others that, one, it's never too late to change. And also keep in mind that you may not get a second chance. This may be it. I feel destined to be on the other side so that I could share these principles and my experiences so that others, and if only one person that might be listening says, you know, I'm not going to gamble with that because there is no guarantees in life, then all of the efforts have been successful and on purpose, and I am grateful. So it's never too late to change. You never guaranteed a second or third or fourth chance. So take advantage and savor the life that you have and live it to its fullest with fitness, both spiritually, physically, and emotionally. And I thank you and giving me this opportunity. And blessed if I can do anything to help anybody out. There's the information there. Just let me know, and I'm in a mode of paying it forward. Thank you, Miles.
Thank you, Dan. I appreciate you for spending this time with us. And with that being said, I want to show everyone just how easy it is for them to get your 21 fitness principles. So I have it teed up here on the screen. This is your website, New Heart for Life, where you can go and learn a little bit more about Dan. You can hear Dan's story. You can get his 21 fitness principles here, or you can go to 21fitnessprinciples.com. It takes you straight to your book. And Dan, it's so easy to get this book. You get it for free. You simply go in here, you type in your email address, you put in your name. It went away. You put in your name and you'll get your email of your book very, very soon. So thank you, Dan. I hope that everybody.
It just asked you. It just asked you, where did you hear about us? Heard about us from Miles.
There we go. I hope that everybody watching today takes advantage of this. It is a great book. It is free for everybody watching again. So make sure you guys get in contact with Dan. Dan, I appreciate you for everything that you did today, taking an hour out of your time to hang out with us and share your 21 fitness principles.
My honor. Thank you, bro.